Chapter 1 of Facts and Fancies by Orpheus Everts. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Linda Marie Nielsen, Vancouver, BC. Chapter 1 7:30, bright and early. That is, early for a man who goes to bed at 1 a.m. and seldom before 9 arises. I was up and dressed and running downhill toward a railway station. Railway owned by Robert Simpson. Owned and run by Robert for the benefit of friends and neighbors, and whatever else is in it. Station called the Sanitarium, for a hospital above there on the hilltop. Building spacious, grounds delightful, roomy, shady, pure spring water, just the place for invalids who've been prostrated, overworked, or lost their balance, and need rest for restoration. Heard the locomotive whistle loudly near the station, fairly howling at the station. Hastening then my steps a little, lengthening my stride a trifle, swinging gripsack and umbrella, down the hill I went, regardless. Someone laughed who saw me going, laughed without occasion, I thought. But the vulgar always laugh when better persons meet with mishaps. Step on orange skins, for instance, and sit down upon the sidewalk, suddenly unexpected, before strangers, or bareheaded, chase their hats blown off by high winds, or attempt, and fail, by running, to catch up with trains in motion. It was warm work, but I made the train and got on board it. Southbound train for Cincinnati, early morning train, conducted by the tall and tawny Richter, first name Henry, first-rate fellow. Held his train for half a minute when he saw me coming. Mercury 86 and rising. Car was full of men of business, on their way from homes suburban, cottages and mansions roomy, fresh green leaves and arbors leafy, wives all beautiful and happy, children sweet and good and lovely, to the dull and dusty city, to the hot and horrid city, all intent on making money, 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 all expecting having made enough to be made happy. Strange delusion, yet a good one. Makes men work, and makes them honest. Men must work to gain, and must be honest to be very happy. Not a man on College Hill would jeopardize his soul's hereafter for $1 million. They all know the fate of Dives, how it fared with him and Lazarus. They all know about a camel squeezing through a needle's eye, how difficult a thing that would be. And in fact there's not a man there who by nature avaricious, not one that would wreck a railroad, loot a bank, or cheat a neighbor, advertise to sell his wares at less than cost, year in and year out. College Hill men are all honest. All on board were reading papers, some commercials, some inquirers. Each one said to every other, "Warm this morning, getting warmer." Every other in return said, "Very, very warm this morning." Then each one and every other resumed reading, reading how the Japanese had thrashed old China. Not another word was spoken, not another word. that I heard, all the way from College Hill to that old dark and gloomy depot that disgraces Cincinnati, name of which I need not mention. The C.H.&D. is meant, though, relic of a bygone era, waiting for a good time coming. End of chapter 1. Chapter 2 of Facts and Fancies by Orpheus Everts. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 2. 8:15 at the Grand Central. Bought a ticket for Peoria. Big Four route. The Big Four is, of all roads the best no matter where you wish to go, shortest, smoothest, quickest, safest, and the best conducted. Maybe. Bought train ticket and insurance for one day. Insurance needless. On Big Four road. Bought from habit. Always feel a sense of comfort when insured, a sense of duty done toward others who might find my bank account at zero under trying circumstances. Cost a fortune to get buried nowadays. Costly casket. Used to bury folks in coffins and a funeral procession. Carriages and horses many paid for out of one's estate now, costing no one knows just how much. Flowers too. No, not while I'm waiting. Inhumation. Not a blossom. I like flowers when not funeral. Like them in their proper places. Like them wild amid the grasses, in the woodlands and the meadows. Like the springtime's dainty beauties, pure and sweet as infancy, and the summer's gaudy blossoms, passionate like youth and lovely. Also autumn's golden glories, promises of youth fulfilling all the faultless decorations of incomparable nature. Like them too in kitchen gardens, tended tenderly by women, under windows, front and rearward, climbing porches, over arbors, flanking sidewalks, leading homeward, by their colors and their odors, all reminding one of someone, mother, sister, or old sweetheart. And ah me, of youth departed, like them in conservatories, after autumn leaves have fallen, housed like royal Russians in their winter palaces secure from nihilistic frost fiends deadly, but in close shut, curtained parlors where the dead await inspection by the friendly and the curious and the funeral directors. Systematic solemn movements where the mournful sadly linger till the final parting moment. There, forgive this touch of nature. There to me, there not a pleasure at a wedding there becoming, and on all occasions festive, for there's laughter in their colors, and delight in their fresh odors, when our hearts are light and joyous, but not when grief veiled and sobbing, in the first hours of our anguish, in the presence of our sorrow, our dear dead still undelivered to all the devouring darkness. Then they mock our saddened senses, and deride the tears that blind us. Bought train ticket, as aforesaid, for Peoria, city famed for potteries and big distilleries. Country produce, much consumed there, goes in corn, but comes out whiskey. City named for a big Indian, once a chieftain, so reputed, of a band of savage vermin, called by poets noble red men, much bepraised by thin romancers, as a race of rare endowments, brave, sagacious, faithful, truthful, patient, uncomplaining, grateful, generous, appreciative, eloquent, and sentimental, in all virtues far excelling, false, degenerate, wicked white men, but such bosh is worse than buncombe. False as fact and wild as fancy, the red races all are savage, cruel, treacherous, ungrateful, sneaking, wily, and deceptive, low browed, lazy, unprogressive, infantile in mind and habits, never growing to full manhood, governed only by their fears and expectation of advantage, so they are, and ever have been. Cooper Campbell notwithstanding, such they were before the white man, restless, pushing, energetic, speculative, pioneering, braver than the bravest redskin, more endearing and sagacious, wiser, truer, noble, stronger, found him in the way, and traded, no matter what, for his broad acres, such before the Jesuit fathers, Hennepin, La Salle, and Marquette, chivalric, heroic, dauntless, traversed long leagues of wilderness, and these wonderful prairies, discovering the then Great West, such before the world famed sailor, driven by his strong convictions, sailing down a chartless ocean, day by day, into the unknown, sailing westward, ever onward, leaving the old world behind him, found at length the seaward portals of a new world, all unguarded, entered and aroused the red man, native and before unchallenged, to a conflict not yet ended. End of chapter 2.